What's going on, everybody? We're back again. It's Thursday night here on the Coffee and Cigar live stream. And today we're going to be, as always, drinking coffee and smoking a cigar. It's a pretty simple format, nothing too difficult. Just like it says, coffee and cigar. So that's pretty much what we're doing. So today we're going to have the naughty coffee because we're still in the Christmas season. So we have the naughty and the nice, right? As our gift pack. So if you want a gift pack, they're $25 on our website, sprocoffee.com. Buy now, buy lots, buy often. But the naughty coffee, so what they are, like I've said in the past, these are the same coffee, but with different roast profiles. This one is a little bit on the lighter side. This is a little bit on the more roasted side. Not dark, but just a little more roasted. Oh, did we just get a little brighter? I don't know what happened there. It just kind of jumped. Oh, yeah, because it just jumped because right before, about 3 minutes before 8 o'clock, I notice on the screen on the camera that it's overheating. It's got this thermal indicator, which I've never seen before, but I do have the heater blasting in here to compensate for the cold air, and I guess it's all right now, so that's good. I've been putting a fan on it to try to cool it down. And anyway, but we've got the coffees, so we're gonna do the naughty. We did the nice last week, and yeah, you can get that online and all that kind of thing. So let's get right to it. Today we're going to be brewing with the Clever Brewer. And so the Clever is, I'm not sure if we used this in the past, but the Clever is a hybrid coffee brewer. As you can see, it looks kind of like a pour-over brewer, if you're familiar with those. And basically, it is essentially a pour-over brewer, but it has a valve at the bottom. And the valve prevents the water from flowing through until you place it on top of your cup. And then the valve here at the bottom opens, and then the liquid flows through. So if we use a paper filter, that will prevent any of the sediments and the coffee grounds from coming into your cup of coffee. So it's kind of like a pour over in that respect. However, because it has the valve, it's like a French press as well, because we're gonna sit the coffee in here and steep it with the hot water for 3 minutes, and then place this on top of a vessel, open the valve, and then it's going to flow through, and then we'll get our brew in roughly 4 minutes. So again, the principles are the same, always about a 3.5 to 4 minute brew time, and just a different way of doing it, right? All right, so now we're going to get our coffee. As always, I've got a pre-ground because I really don't like to use a hand grinder. So it's got nice aromas, a little bit of fruitiness, a little bit of cocoa. I think you can see it. That's what I forgot to grab. I was going to grab I was supposed to grab a light. Well, we'll just get to that later. Anyway, so we're going to take that and let us set up our stands here so that you can see what we're doing. Good. Okay, there it is. Now we're going to take our coffee. We're using, because we're making 12-ounce cup, we're going to be using 24 grams. As always, 2 grams for every finished ounce. So whatever size cup you want to make, if you want to make an 8-ounce cup, 16 grams. You want to make a 32-ounce cup, 64 grams. Real simple, 2 to 1, right? 2 grams for every ounce. We're going to get our hot water. And then we're going to start to brew, right? Start to brew. We'll get our timer, and we're going to start brewing. So as always, we're going to not heat, but we're just going to pre-wet the coffee, allow for blooming, because, if you're not familiar, there is CO2 gas inside freshly roasted coffee that needs to escape. And so as you expose the water to the coffee, that gas forms, but the coffee that's on the top kind of stays as this cap that kind of grows, kind of like the magma cap at a volcano, right? So there's that crust that's under the magma, that's over the magma, and it's just kind of floating there. Well, we need to let that form, and then we will break that magma cap down. So we wait about 30 seconds. Oh, we're already 45 seconds because I'm talking too much. So now we're going to use, I just use the flow to break it down. And I break it down and make sure that it gets all saturated so that the coffee is fully immersed in the water. And we're going to give it about a total amount of water, 350 milliliters, which is right around 14 ounces. Which is going to sound weird because I did say 2 grams for every finished ounce, but that's a finished ounce. So this 14 grams of water will actually yield us 12 ounces. This 14 ounces of water will actually yield us 12 ounces in the final cup. And that's because the coffee absorbs and holds some of the moisture, right? Some of the water, more or less about 2 ounces in this size. So now we're just going to wait. So we got a minute 41. Yeah, minute 40. Is it showing backwards? Are we backwards? Like, are you reading this backwards or are you reading it forward? I can't tell because on my monitor here to your left, it reads backwards. All right, so just waiting. This is the part if you're making this at home with friends or with your loved ones, you can wax poetic to them about everything you know about coffee, so that it seems like you're like you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, and you're like some kind of expert. Oh, good. Rusty and George say it's both forward and fine. Great. I don't do that with my friends or family because they think that's weird. All right, so we're almost there. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. All right, so now we're going to take we're going to use a beaker because beakers look scientific. And as you can see, the liquid just falls through, right? It's just falling through. You want to make sure you at least take the cap off or give it some space so that it will, displacement, right? I have had a couple times when I was brewing this at the shop where I didn't give that air gap, and there was enough moisture so that it actually suctioned it down and wouldn't come out. So we're rolling. It's still about to finish, and it's right about, what is it? It's now about 339, 340, 342, and we're pretty much done, right? It's kind of dripping here. If you can see it dripping, but it's kind of finishes dripping. And as you can see, we're just about 350 mils. So, most people, and I do this too, most people it's better to weigh it with a scale, right? So if I'm at the shop, I'm actually weighing this with a scale. But here, I don't feel like bringing the scale out. I'm a little bit lazy with that, so I don't bring the scale. But as you can see, 350 mils. And that's money. That's money. That's money. And we finished at 4 minutes, which is the ideal brew parameter. All right, so today, I decided to use this beaker because it looks scientific and it makes me look smarter. I should probably wear my glasses so that I look even more intellectual, but that's beside the point. Because I wanted to use this mug and this coffee cup. And this coffee cup is made by Fio Oslo in Norway. And it's here. Fio Oslo. And they're a company in Norway that makes special mugs and all kinds of ceramic ware. And the designer is Kristin Ernsten, and I'm using this because mainly it's featured on my the Christmas coffee gift guide video. And it's actually designed by a buddy of mine, Tim Wendelbo, in Norway, in Oslo. So I went to go visit him last August. I was up in Copenhagen. So I called up Tim. I said, "Hey man, I'm in Copenhagen. I'm gonna come visit you. When should I come?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got this time on Wednesday." So I flew out for the day, flew to Oslo, hung out with Tim, and he was kind enough to give me one of his mugs and one of his cups. And I've always been interested in his cups. I mean, he's had them for a while, and he's got like 4 in their collection, and this is the one that was designed for. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It's in the video. If you watch the video, it tells you all about it. But it's designed to taste, to give better taste, right? Kind of like the Riedel glasses for wines. It's kind of got that idea. So we're going to put that in here. And we're going to drink. Maybe that's too much. Whatever. Good. Nice kind of flavors in there. There's some nice, a little bit of berryness. There's a little bit of caramel. I think the little bit deeper roasting in the naughty brings out a little more of the caramel. Not too much cocoa, but more caramel. Definitely like a darker caramel, kind of like that toffee kind of caramel. Nice. All right, we're gonna move on. So how's everyone doing? Where are you guys tonight? Are you guys at home, at somebody else's house? Are you smoking, or did you already smoke? Are you smoking in the cold? Because it's kind of cold. It's kind of cold outside. I don't know, Rusty, if you had too much rain, snow up in Jersey. I think you guys had more than we did, but we're in this place in Baltimore where it's kind of like disappointing, right? Like me, I'm not a big fan of snow. I would prefer if we don't have snow, I don't miss it. I'm happy not to have snow. Like all last winter, we had no snow. I'm very fine with that. But if we do have snow, I'd like it to be nice, right? And that's one of the problems here in Baltimore, right? We have snow, like today, like yesterday. It started to snow. Like, so I'm at the shop. It's like 10 o'clock, a little bit of flurries. By noon, it's coming down. It's got some big chunks. I was like, wow, it's already at 1 inch, 2 inches. I'm shoveling, and it's accumulating. But by the time that I'm leaving at 2 o'clock, it had started to it had warmed up enough so that it started to be wet and a little bit of sleet. And then I guess later came the rain. So you get this slushy, icy, hell that's just kind of like, it's not, I mean, today it wasn't too bad. Like sometimes we get snow here and it snows and then it rains and then it all melts away and then there's nothing left. So you've gone through all of this rigmarole for nothing. And what I mean by nothing is that I like those, you see those pictures and those shows where they're like in other parts of the world where there's snow and it's snow covered and it's like a winter wonderland for like weeks on end. I wouldn't mind that for a week. I would like that. So George is on the balcony with a Mil Diaz and 3 layers, top and bottom. I'm glad to see you're comfortable there, George. That's good. That Mil Diaz, excellent cigar. So today, speaking of cigars, we're going to be smoking another cigar from Tobacco Leaf. That I got from Tobacco Leaf. And this is going to be the MBombay MQBA, but really it's supposed to be pronounced MQBA. The BA ba, bo, MQBO, MQBA, something like that. And as you can see, it's a nice looking cigar. Actually, I have to look up something because I forgot to pull some information before we started. So the MQBA has 4 sizes, right? There is this one, which is a torpedo. There is also a diademas, which is their like Solomon shaped. That's like 7 by 52. And then there's also a Nika, which is a Lonsdale sized, and then there's also a Torpedo. So 4 sizes. And what's really supposed to be interesting about this cigar is that all the tobacco comes from one farm in Ventana, Ecuador. So evidently in 2009, the owner of MBombay, this guy named Mel Shaw, decided to buy a farm or lease a farm down in Ecuador. And I guess he wanted to make cigars with it. So he's making cigars, what they consider Ecuadorian puros. And this one is supposed to, all the wrapper, filler, binder is all from this one farm. So if we were to put that in coffee parlance, it would be, I guess, considered a single origin cigar, which actually, from my position in the coffee business, I find this kind of idea to be quite exciting, because it's like, I think that single origins tend to be more difficult to work with, right? Like you can, like let's say with coffee blending, right? Anyone can order coffees from different places with different flavor profiles and create a blend that's quite pleasant, right? But in order to find a single origin, a single source of coffee that can be dynamic and interesting, I think that's a very difficult proposition. Either whether you're really like super hardcore, like in coffee, it's, when I say super hardcore, I mean like you're taking a single lot, maybe even from a single day lot, and you're utilizing that coffee. That's like super hard to find, right? Like you're really drilling it down to like the ultimate level. But, well, of course, in tobacco, it's a little bit different. You've got different primings, but if you're using it all from the same farm, I think that's quite interesting right there. And something that not many people are doing. I think there's a few other manufacturers that are making like, Nicaraguan puros or like cigars that are using components from the same nation, but I don't know if I don't know if there's many that are doing it from the same farm. I think Pete Johnson's Tatuaje is, he does the vintage line, the Veritas, that he releases every few years. I think that all comes from one farm, and I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting that Mel Shaw is doing this, and yeah. All right, so let's have a look. So it's got this band, and it's a pretty nice band with the peacock. The peacock. I'm not really sure what the peacock is for in his labeling, but in his packaging, because he's used the peacock in a lot of his other brands, and yeah, I'm not sure. My understanding is that Mel Shaw is a Persian ancestry, and he's used things like the Persian rugs as the band artwork. But I'm not sure if there's a connection with Persia, Iran, with the peacock. But it's got double banding, and it's called the Vintage Reserve, right? And was it the Vintage Reserve? Oh yeah. So this is just the secondary band indicates that it's part of this Vintage Reserve line that they do with the. He first started in 2015 with the Kisara Nika, and then in 2016 with their Lancero 1973. And the series is centered on tobaccos of a certain vintage, as opposed to non-vintage tobaccos that most cigar companies will use. So let's have a smell. So the wrapper and the foot, relatively mild, very mild. I mean, there's no real heavy discernible aromas. Maybe I should move the coffee from my nose. Yeah, it's just light and mellow. But the wrapper looks really nice. So if you look at the wrapper here, it's very smooth, not veiny. It feels supple and almost velvety, but it has a really nice feel on my thumb here, the one you see me caressing the back. That feels nice. All right, so let us cut away. Mm-hmm. All right, time for the cold draw. So there's a sweetness to it, to the wrapper. Maybe a light creaminess. You know, as I was reading the, well, we'll get into that in a little bit. So far, maybe there's a little bit of white pepper, a light white pepper. But it's smooth. It's smooth and pleasant. So not too light. All right. We're starting off. You know, the initial flavor right before I took this last puff kind of was very mild and very reminiscent to me of cigars we smoked in the early 90s or in the mid 90s. Like that Connecticut style of cigar from back then that was really mild and almost like something reminiscent to me of an old Cuesta Rey. All right, so we're starting off, and it's pretty smooth, relatively, smooth, but relatively light on the pepper, more like a white pepper. I think that's a really apt way to describe it. I'm not really sure if I mean, no, it's white, white pepper. It's not that black pepper punchiness, right? And you know what? As before leading up to this, I was reading, like every week, I read different reviews on the cigars to get an idea for what people are thinking about it. And one of the interesting things I was reading about the MQBA, MQBA, MQBA torpedo, right, which is about the same size, just a little bit different shape. And it was a review from Half Wheel by the guy Patrick LeGrade. It was from March 2019, and he was talking about how, he was. If you read his review, he talks about how he's It's kind of like. Let me see here. Let me just make sure that I get this correctly. But he kind of talks about how this cigar or the torpedo doesn't have the black pepper. It doesn't have that black pepper anything. And it kind of made me wonder, like, have we reached a point in modern cigar smoking where people's idea of quality and value and worthiness of a cigar is predicated on whether or not a cigar has black pepper notes? Like my father's cigars, like some of my father's very black pepper. The Fuente Opus X, black pepper, right? Spanish Rosado, black pepper. And as Patrick was going through his review, it kind of gave me that impression that he's of the position where black pepper is a necessary component to a cigar for it to be deemed worthy. And at the end of the day, he gave it an 82, which, you know, I mean, that seems to me from how people talk about the reviews in the cigar industry that that's pretty low, right? 82 seems to be pretty low. But there's definitely like a white pepper. It's very light. It's not a punchy cigar, but it's smooth. It's got a nice draw, good smoke. It's pleasant. It's starting off very pleasant. So this is a 6x52 Toro, and it's like I said before, it's a wrapper, binder, and filler come from the same farm in Ventana, Ecuador. It's made by the Tabacos de Costa Rica in Costa Rica, and I believe they're just outside of San Jose. Like the times that I've been to Costa Rica, I kind of asked some friends where the cigar places are, and they said it wasn't too far away, but I've never been. So these come in boxes of 24 and 4-packs. And the MSRP on this cigar is $14.29, which is expensive. I think anything above $13 is on the expensive side. And so to be honest with you, like MBombay cigars are always on the pricier side. And I know I touch on this like every week, but as a person, as a cigar smoker, someone that smokes on my own, man, once you get to the $13 point, it's a lot of like hesitation. Like I know that in the past, like Raul's been like, "Hey man, have you tried these MBombays?" I was like, "Well, no, not at that price point." And I'm buying it because we're doing the show, and I think it's interesting to talk about. But on a personal level, if it was just me by myself, man, I'm hard pressed to spend that kind of money on this cigar. So George saying pepper's not needed for me. The cream flavors for him is awesome. I agree. But we're not really. But I don't know about you, George. But I don't know if there's many cigars that are out on the market today that are really about creaminess, you know. Like I remember, when I said that about the Cuesta Rey earlier, I remember when I first started smoking cigars, people would talk about creaminess, and I really never got that until one day I picked up this Cuesta Rey that came in 10 to a box. It was in a yellow box, and each of them was in their own tubes, like glass tubes. And when I smoked that cigar, that was like creaminess. Like I was just so surprised and like so amazed that a cigar really would have that kind of creaminess. So but this is nice. You know, some of the things that the reviewers have said that I read is like white bread, butter. I can see that. Maybe not the butter, but maybe the white bread. It's fairly, compared to things like, for example, the Mil Diaz that you're smoking, George. Compared to something like that, this is very benign, right? Compared like that Mil Diaz got beautiful flavor, structure, and it's coming at you, and it's really just like developing. This is not like that. This is a much more mild, much more smooth kind of experience. So Rusty's asked me, do you remember the first cigar you ever smoked or the first real cigar? The answer is yes. So back in 1992 or 93 or maybe 94, I was in Manila, right? I went there to go visit, and I was all into this idea of like, oh, I'm Filipino and I should like support Filipino stuff and whatever. And in the Philippines, there's actually a company called Tabacalera, and Tabacalera has been there since the Spanish era. So like for 300 years, they've been making cigars in the very traditional methods of Cuba, right? They're all by hand, and they make them. I forgot what the name of the area they're making them in, but they make them, and I decided that hey, I wanted to experience my patriotism, right? And so I bought a box of these Coronas. I think they're called Coronas Extras. And at the time, I was living in Honolulu, right? And when I lived in Honolulu, I lived in this apartment that was like in this high-rise building. It was kind of fancy. It was pretty nice. But in this fancy building, there were no balconies. There were no windows. It was one of those like floor-to-ceiling glass, expansive, like beautiful views. But there's no, and the only ventilation was this kind of like vent at the bottom of the window. You pop it open and some fresh air would come in. But there was no open windows, no balcony to go outside. So I took that cigar and I was like, okay, I want to learn. I want to experience cigars. And I sat there with this Corona cigar and I smoked it in my apartment. Smoked it. I don't recall if I enjoyed it or, the flavor, but I did it. I wanted to try it. And I smoked it and finished it all. I would never do that again. Never, ever did I do that ever again. Because for 2 weeks, my apartment reeked of cigar smoke. Man, it was miserable. Oh, man. But it was after that point, I ended up going out. I found a local cigar shop called Don Pablo. And I started going there, became friends with the manager. And then after a while, we had our own group of guys and girls hanging out, smoking cigars pretty much on a daily basis. And that's how really started to get more into it and learning more about the different cigars that are out there. But the first cigar that I did have was this Philippine-made Corona Extra. And actually, I was wondering about it because I smoked maybe one or two back in that era, and then I never smoked it again. And it had been sitting in my humidor. I still have this box, right? And maybe there's like, if there were 20 cigars to begin with, maybe there's still 15 left. So maybe about a year ago or so, I wanted to see what it was like. I thought, let me try it again. So I smoked one. And you know what? It was actually quite good, quite enjoyable. Quite enjoyable for a 25-year-old cigar. Yeah, as you can see, Rusty, you're right. The burn is nice, right? It's burning evenly. Nice white ash. The smoke has been good. The flavor has been really nice so far. Here in the first third, flavor is really nice. Nothing to complain about. It's not the powerhouse, right? It's not the Crook of the Crown from Stone Thrones. It's not the Mil Diaz. It's not the Roma Craft, right? Or the Tatuai. It doesn't have that kind of punchiness, It's kind of got that Cabaiguan smooth mellowness, just kind of rolling along. That classic. Which is what I mean by the comments from Half Wheels Patrick, was that it made me seem that, to me, this has a classic kind of feel to it. And I think that maybe someone like him who's a little bit newer to the cigar world doesn't have that kind of experience with it. So everything is pepper, 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 flavor, 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 testosterone, testosterone, testosterone. But for the rest of you out there, let me know what you're smoking, or whatever you're doing out there. Drop some thoughts here. Let me know what you think. Have any thoughts about the cigar, about your cigar? So some of the other stuff that I read about this cigar line, and the interesting is that, this is the Toro shape, right? The MQBA Toro. And like I said, there's 4 lines, and most of the reviews that I found were not for the Toro. They were for the other sizes, the Nika, the Torpedo. And so there's going to be a little bit of variation between them. But what I thought was interesting was that the scoring was so vastly different, right? So like Half Wheel gave the Torpedo an 82 back in March of 2019. And then before that, in February 2019, Cigar Dojo smoked the Nika, which is the Lonsdale, and gave it a 90. And then the other one was the Stogie Press in March of that year, 2019. They also smoked the Nika, and they gave it a 97. A 97. You know, we're talking about a system of scoring that's that's out of 100 points. 97 is astronomical. Like, that's got to be like bomb. Like, I would think that someone that's giving a score of 97 would have had such an intensely positive experience that they would be gushing about it. But the Stogie Press article didn't convey in the article, it didn't convey this idea that it's 97, like almost perfection. I mean, that's way the hell up. 97 is way high. And that's kind of one of the problems that I have with like cigar industry scoring. Like, you see these scores from like all these different sources, but what do they mean? You know, do they have any meaning? And this is something I was actually, I don't know if you guys know that guy, William Cooper. Coop runs cigarcoop.com, right? And so we're buddies on Facebook. I met him in person. I've been on a podcast with him for the Stogie Geeks podcast. We've been on the same podcast. And a real nice guy. But, you know, he was kind of like, you know, he was kind of arguing to me that if the scores don't have value, then people like him and other cigar media would not survive. And I think that's a bit of a misnomer, because, you know, one of the things about at least from my purview, cigar scoring is just lacking any kind of standard. Like, there's no agreed upon standard for any of these scores. So it's kind of arbitrary. Just like this, you've got this line of cigars, and, you know, and I get that we're talking about different sizes within the cigar, and so the blend is changing slightly between the sizes, so there's going to be some variation. But the lowest and the highest score, not the lowest, I'm sorry, but we're talking about, you know, like Cigar Dojo for the Nika, 90. Stogie Press for the Nika, 97. I mean, that's a 7-point difference. That's a major difference. And I think, you know, and maybe I'm speaking too much from the coffee world, you know, like in the coffee world, you get up into the 90s, man, that coffee is pretty stellar. And if you're talking a 7-point jump between 90 and 97, man, that's a massive amount of difference. I mean, that's like the difference between how coffee professionals score coffee and how coffeereview.com scores coffee. So we're getting a little bit of droop. Which makes me kind of nervous. I'm kind of rolling it over so that it kind of curves up as I smoke now. Maybe that will hold it up. But if you guys get what I'm saying, like for example, in the coffee business, we have a scoring system, right? Technically, it's 0 to 100, but really, in reality, or in practice, it's really 70 to 100. But either way, it's a 100-point system, and there's 10 categories for grading the coffee, and each of those 10 categories can be given 10 points. And across the industry, these are accepted standards, and the method that we use to evaluate those coffees and the criteria that we use to evaluate those categories are generally accepted throughout the industry and across the planet. So when I was, you know, making a statement with Coop that, you know, the cigar industry lacks standards for their scoring, that's what I mean. There's really no standard for any of these groups and their scoring system. It's all just kind of arbitrary, right? So if everything's arbitrary, how can you have any kind of reliance upon it, right? Like in the coffee business, somebody says to you, "Hey, man, this coffee's 87." Oh man, that's a hell of a good coffee. But evidently, from what I've been reading and seeing in like different forums on cigars, if it's less than 90, then it's just crap, and it's like that's really just kind of strange to me. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Any thoughts on that? Like I find that with cigars and like reviews, I like to read the review that way rather than look at the score. And then I tend to look for people that remark about a cigar, their experience in a way that I would have experienced it, so that I think that we find over time that our palates are similar, right? And those are the ones that I tend to give more credence to. So George says, I prefer a cigar reviewer that just tell me the taste notes and construction quality. I don't need to remember any. Yes. And and to be fair, all the ones that I read, they give a lot of flavor notes. They give a lot of their, they give a lot of talk about the construction quality, the flavor notes, the experience with it. So they really do talk a lot about the overall experience and the nuances of that experience. But I just, when it comes to the score part, it's like I said, like the Stogie press on the Nika in 97, like I would have expected that guy to be much more into it, right? Like much more like exuberant about in his writing. Where it was, it was just kind of, it was a good review, but just not that kind of like, oh my God, man, this is like fantastic. And then conversely, the half wheel where they give the 82, like I wonder, like, 82 seems like a really low score in cigars. I mean, it's kind of low in coffee, but in cigars, if everything's 90 plus, 82 is way down there. And like, and that to me, that's where like, did he give 82 such a poor score because it didn't have the pepper that he prefers as a smoker, or is he really evaluating the qualities of that cigar? Like in coffee scoring, we are evaluating the criteria, the different characteristics of that coffee, separate than what we may like individually. Like there's coffees that I'll give better scores to because it has great characteristics, but is it a coffee that I want to drink personally? Maybe not. And that's, I think, where the difference comes in, that you really have to separate what you like as an individual versus over what you're trying to evaluate professionally. But so Rusty's asking, based on what you're saying, do you ever pay attention to the top 25 lists? To a certain extent. I mean, just because it's an interesting thing, like I'll give you a great example. The Opus X. People love the Opus X. Love it. And it's a good cigar. Right? I can't deny it's a good cigar. However, traditionally, historically, from my experience smoking the Opus X, it's not really my deal, right? Like I started smoking from the very first batch. Like I had cigars that when it first came out in like 95, and I've tried it a few times over the last 25 years. But that heavy black pepper is just not really my thing. So I'm not really one that will seek it out, but if we were to, is it a quality made cigar? I think so. Well, maybe or maybe not. Like, for example, like one thing you hear about, let's say, and I guess we're going to pick on the Opus X now, but like, one of the things you hear from cigar smokers that like the Opus X, they're always like, oh, you get the Opus X now, and then you save it for a year. Let it age for a year, and then it'll be great. Well, the Opus X is $25, right? Or some significant amount. And if I'm going to spend $25, I would prefer that I could enjoy it now rather than wait a year. To me, that kind of smacks as hubris, But I get it. There's people that are, I mean, I can see people arguing that, hey, you know what, if you could buy $100 bottle of wine and it's not ready to drink for another 10, 15 years. I get that. Okay, that's true. That's true. But back to the point is that it's not that I don't. I'm interested to see what they think is the top 25. And, if the top one, is different, it's not an Opus X, then I'm interested to try it, because I'm open to trying something new, especially if it's something I haven't tried. Yeah, I'm open to that. I don't really know if I put value over Cigar Aficionados review, the top 25 versus the other groups that do it. I mean, there's always that, Cigar Aficionado, I think, is always a suspect when it comes to their scoring because of their, you always hear about the company that spends the most money on their media and advertising gets the higher score. So if that's true, I don't know, but you hear that a lot. And when there's smoke, there's probably fire. So I think there's something to balance there. Like, so you kind of you hear about it and you just kind of balance that out. But I don't really, that's why I say I don't really place value, too much value over one group's top 25 or the other. If I'd actually, in many respects, the people that people I know and like and trust, I'm interested to hear more what they're excited about. And George says, it's funny how much money they spend on advertising and how that affects their views. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important thing to look at. It's like, if we're going to look at the veracity of a review and of a publication, then I think that should be open. And I think people like Cigar Coop does a good job with being open about, the way that they evaluate cigars. But some of the groups, maybe like Cigar Aficionado, we don't really know. And for example, like I mentioned earlier, the coffee review website, coffeereview.com, you pay $300 as a company, maybe it's even more, maybe $350 now, for a review that they'll publish. And you can use that review to garner sales. And, and I don't read cigar review, coffeereview.com, so I can't really say. I just hear from friends when they get high scores. I'm happy for them because, the high scores they get helps them to sell more coffee. But they get high scores, and typically, from what everyone, we all discuss in the industry, we may have had the same coffee, and they're giving it a 93, we're giving it like 87 or 88. So there's a skew somewhere there, right? Inting, good to see you. Welcome back. Yeah, he's saying that Opus X not for you as well. I get it. The flavors are just different. They're just different, and that's not a bad thing, It's just that there are people, like, when people are really excited about Opus X, they're like, oh my God, Opus X. Like, I'm happy for them. I'm just not move myself to like spend crazy money for it, And George's never had an Opus. I mean, I've smoked Opus on several occasions, from the original release and then through a few releases over the years, and they're not bad. I think as a cigar person, if you're really into cigars, I think it's worth trying once, at least to see if it's in your wheelhouse. The downside is if you buy the new release, people always kind of tell you, hey, you need to wait. It's kind of like, really? I don't know about the waiting part. Like, I don't know, do you have to wait? Or will it just not be enjoyable now? And I've had that experience, where you buy cigars and they're not very good, and so you wait, and the rest of it's not very good a year or two later. That's not fun. Yeah, and Rusty says, I've had a few Opus, but respect the quality of tobacco, the craftsmanship, but it's a hit on my wallet. Yeah, that's for sure, man. That's for sure. And George, nothing sits in his humidor a year. That's the smart cigar smoker. One of our other buddies, Scott, is like that. And he's always like, I don't keep any cigars. I just buy what I need to smoke. And, you know, being someone that has a collection of cigars, and then a number of our friends have collections of cigars of their own, as nice as it may be to have a selection of cigars, I do think the smarter move is to not have that. Yeah, like there's just so many great cigars out now that, you know, are we going to run out? I mean, you know, it's like, is Biden going to like cancel cigars? No, that's not going to happen. Inting says he was more impressed by the Padron 1000 series than compared to the Opus. Yes, I agree. The Padron 1000 series is excellent value, excellent cigar. Although I did hear about, you know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I did hear that there's really no difference between the regular line Padron and the Maduro line. Like, I think they roll everything the same. And my understanding, from what I've heard people tell me, is that the Maduros are just the darker when they're on the sorting tables. Now, I've been to the factory for Padron. I don't know if that's true. I don't recall any part of that being a part of our conversation. Or you know, we watched them sorting, but I don't really know what they were doing or what they're sorting it out. So, but the Padron 1000 series, especially when they're really nicely humidified, ooh, fantastic. So we're going on, and it's still rolling. It's still the same. It's still got the nice draw, good amount of smoke. The flavor's still pretty much the same. Maybe light cedar. The white pepper's probably, the white pepper's kind of mellowed out, and now it's more of a light cedar. You know, this is the one that I was really looking forward to try. Just because it just seemed like a nice cigar to try. Like the packaging is really nice. So in the Cigar Dojo review, they give a quote from the owner, Mel Shah. And Mel says that it was taken as a self-challenge to produce a cigar from our own tobacco. We had to work very closely with the ligeros, as they tend to get the more delicate in the mild spectrum, but they turned out to be fabulous. And they say the four sizes that they focused on, the Lonsdale, the Diadema, and the Torpedo, were really developed because that's supposedly where the sizes that the true connoisseurs of cigar smokes. And I think there's some truth to that. Like the Solomon is a very, like, you know, esoteric kind of size. The Torpedo and the Lancero especially are definitely stuff that only like the really like serious cigar smokers are really seeking out. Like that's why you don't really see Lonsdale and Lanceros in most lines, because most people aren't buying it. Like even I remember Abe Flores, 7 years ago, we were hanging out in Hawaii, and I said to him, "Hey man, what cigar should I try of yours?" And he's like, "Hey, buy this box of these 1975 Capa Maduros, the Lancero." He said they're 3 years old already, and we stopped making them. And he stopped making them because there just wasn't demand for that size. So I think it's really one of the more, those three are the more, you know, like I guess connoisseurs type of thing. So how's your sports team doing? Ravens this past week were playing the Cleveland Browns, who surprisingly have become a rather good team. And we nearly lost. Luckily, we won. Evidently, they tell me that we have the chance to go to the World Series. We might have the chance to go to the playoffs, maybe to the Super Bowl. And I think that might be a good thing. Like the Ravens, I got a lot of friends that are Steelers fans. They're from Pittsburgh, and they love to talk about their 6 rings, right? 6 rings. If you talk to Steelers fans, they just don't stop talking. They talk and talk and talk about 6 rings, 6 rings. But those 6 rings take on average 12 years to achieve. The Ravens, 2 rings, on average 8. So this is the year we should be up for it soon. And unlike last year where we're like killing, this year we're not killing so much. Right? The last 2 times we went to the Super Bowl, we weren't killing it. We were just kind of making it. And we had to struggle. Like I remember when we went to the Super Bowl last time, in this month, December, I remember going to Modell's in December of 2012. Is that right? 2012. And I remember looking for, I went to Modell's to go buy Ravens gear, right? So I'm at Modell's, and I'm looking at the Ravens gear, and there's these 2 women, right? And they're looking around, and they were like trashing Flacco. They're like, "Wow, I'm not going to buy a Flacco jersey because he kind of sucks." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, man, really? Are you guys crazy? We're gonna." And at the time, I had seats at the stadium, so I was very, very optimistic. I was like, "We're gonna go all the way, right?" And so like, even when we had our first playoff game, right, the last game we played at the stadium, at Ravens Stadium, at what's it called, M&T Bank Stadium, right? I want to call it PSI Net, which is the original name. Anyway, so we're there, and like, you get to know all of your seatmates, and I'm telling my seatmates at the end of the game after we won, right? I'm like, man, they're all like, "Oh, I don't know what we're gonna do." Ravens fans, Baltimore people, they're always like negative. They're always kind of like, "Oh, I don't know." Because we're a small town and people, they're gonna steal it from us, which happens a lot. But I was like, hey, I said, guys, we're going to go 4 more games. We have 4 more games to go. And they're like, "No, I don't know, man. I don't know." I said, 4 more games. Mark my words, 4 more games. And that's the thing. Like, we, as a team, as a Ravens, has to fight every step of the way. Like the last couple of times we got, like, the seated position, wiped out. We can't have that kind of luxury. We're just not a team of luxury. Right? We're not the Patriots under Brady. Baltimore's a scrappy town. Got to claw the way through it, right? And so George says that I'm a Ravens game, and that game was exciting, but he's more like a college football fan. I get it. Oh, this is smoking nicely now. It's getting a little more lively. Oh, goodness, I'm burning everything here. I guess it's about time that I put ash on my beautiful table. So who knows? I think maybe if we're going to make it, this might be the year, because we're not killing it, so we got to scrap the way up there. But that's just my thought. I could be wrong. And so those of you guys who live in Maryland, I don't know if you saw this today, but the governor was back on TV today around 5 o'clock, a couple hours ago, to basically berate the state again. I think the governor's pretty upset. Like, I heard he took over his Facebook page. Like, he said, he was like, he got tired of all the stupid comments people were making, so I think he took over his Facebook page and started answering them directly. Like, hey, you need to shut up. I'll vote for that guy for president. And Rusty says, you see the rumor that Lamar Jackson left the game abruptly, not because of injury, but because he had to take it down. I was wondering, I didn't watch the game. I saw the highlights from the NFL on YouTube. And then at one point I noticed, and they go through it sequentially, right, through the game. And then I noticed at one point there was the backup guy. And I was like, what's he doing there? And then a couple of plays later, Lamar was back. And I was like, I think he came back, and I was like, what was that all about? Because Harbaugh doesn't usually swap out quarterbacks, but that makes sense. Like, man, sometimes, as you all know, sometimes it comes and you just got to go. And so Rusty's a Mets fan, and the new owner can't wait for. So the new owner at the Mets, like, is he going to do more for the team? Do you think? Like we need a new ownership for the Orioles because they were just stagnant, But he was out for 2 full drives. Well, you got to remember, he's also got to take off all of his shit, right? I mean, all of his uniform and pads and everything. Like, I don't think you could just drop trowel that easily. Those shorts are pretty tight. Plus, don't you have, like, you got a cup and you got, like, more, like, armor on the legs and all that, right? I don't know. The shoes, you got to get off the shoes. Like, I don't really enjoy, like, having to have my pants down my ankles. I want to be free, man spread. So have you guys chosen your Christmas gifts? Because Christmas is next week. Christmas next week. I'm only buying stuff for my niece and nephew because I see them the most, and my niece wants one of those, those things that you spin, like the like the spinning game. It's got the categories, like a Wheel of Fortune. That's what it is, a Wheel of Fortune. She wants a tabletop Wheel of Fortune because she wants to create her own little YouTube channel where she does. I'm not sure what she wants to do with it, but she wants to use it for that. So I'm going to get her that. And then my nephew, he likes to read graphic novels, and he also loves video games. So actually, I got a cool thing. At least I think it's kind of cool. I got him this book, 100 Greatest Retro Video Games. So it goes on a history about the best video games from the best top 100 video games. So, things like, as you can see here, we've got Mario and this is Zelda, I think, Pac-Man, Street Fighter. Good Lord. I don't know all of these. Oh, Tetris. And so Rusty says that the new Mets owner is going to open up his wallet. But that's the thing, is it? I thought we're in the whole Moneyball era, like that you don't have to spend so much money. You just have to find like people that can get on base. And then I find a PS5. I know I haven't looked for PS5. I know I heard it's out. Is it out? I think it's out. Is it hard to find? I don't know. I mean, I have a PS4, but I don't have the PS5. Some of my friends have been asking me, "Hey man, why don't you get?" Actually, they've been asking me lately to go buy the Oculus, the VR, because they want to play games. I'm like, what am I going to do with the Oculus? No idea what to do with that. They're like, we're going to play poker. I was like, well, I'm not spending $300 just to play poker once a week. And Dice says to build a retro gaming station. And then Rusty, find him an old school 8-bit Nintendo. I would, but I think my brother would not be happy with that. Like, they don't like to let him play video games. Like my nephew, if you let him play like games, man, he gets all like amped up. It's like adrenaline for the kid. Like, he gets all this like euphoric rush and is all like, ah. So, they don't allow him to play games very often. Like, they control them very like minor doses, right? It's really kind of like a drug. And I get that. I mean, when I was young, we used to play video games all the time, like crazy. But since I showed you that, I also said I got that at the comic book store, and so I got. I don't know if you guys are into comic books, but I'm like, I also got into Star Wars, right? Star Wars. He likes Star Wars, but he doesn't really care if it's like in order. So I just, whenever I go to buy my comics, I buy him a Star Wars one, and he's like, oh, he loves it. But I've been not collecting. Here's the stupid thing, right? Okay, I don't know if you guys are into comic books. I'm not. I guess I'm into it, but not crazily. Well, I guess I'm crazy enough that I would have an account and a box at the comic book store where they automatically collect what I want to read. And here's the ridiculous thing, right? For the last year, I've been on this program, and I haven't read one of them. Like, I get them. Like today, I got this whole stack, but I haven't read any of the ones before it. I'm keeping up with it so that I can sit down and read them. But man, I just don't have the time to read that much. I really need to take time. I got a whole stack of them over there. It's terrible. So I'm reading. What am I reading? Star Trek, Year 5. I don't know how I got with this one. Deep Space Nine. I'm not a DS9 guy. I am a Firefly guy. I do like Firefly. Right? Oh, here, Star Trek Voyager. I'm all about Voyager. That's the one that I like. Here, another Firefly 23, Firefly 24. So as you can see, I'm not. Oh, I like wait a month or two. Like sometimes they get to wonder, like, where have you been? It's like, I hear more Voyager. Oh, and the new one that just came out, The Expanse. Like I know we said about this a few weeks ago, but The Expanse starts yesterday. The first 3 episodes dropped yesterday. And then Doctor Who. So that's what I got. Not too bad. I don't know if I'll ever read them, but I got them. So if you guys do any of you read comic books? If you do, let me know what you read. So the coffee is nice. It's still good. I mean, I've been talking so much, it's got you cooled down. Oh, and I should also see what's in the mailbox. Like, I get some boxes, and I figure I'll share that idea with you. So I got this one. Let's see. This is from DHL. This, I think, is the box from B&H Photo. There's this guy that I watch on YouTube called Sound Speeds, and he's a boom operator, a motion picture boom operator from Atlanta. And he's got some interesting. If you're like film industry type, he's got some cool stuff that he talks about. And like, unlike a lot of the YouTubers that I've seen, he actually has real industry experience, not just like, hey, I make cool videos, right? He actually works on like union productions, like for features and actual like broadcast television. So I really kind of find his insights to be interesting. But he was talking about this hat. Here it is, this hat. And the hat it's like $29, $29.50. And it's from a company called BBI. And it's called the Visor Cap. Bumblebee Industries is what it's called. And I thought it was pretty cool. Like so in the motion picture business, they've really had to do a lot of changes to the industry to meet COVID requirements and to make it safe for everyone. Like actually, like Tom Cruise for Mission 7, they had to go to Norway. They moved production to Norway, and Tom rented a cruise line so that they could keep all the cast and crew to live on the cruise ship to keep them sequestered, so they wouldn't have a lot of problems when they go between Norway and the United Kingdom, because they were quarantined together. And so they're doing things like that. And this guy Alan from Sound Speeds featured this on it. Wow, this is really well packaged. So I thought this is not that I'm going to go on a set or anything, but I thought this was a cool. Good Lord, they really package this well. So I thought this was pretty cool. Well, look at that little sticker, making sound better. That's cool. I dig that. I dig that. So it's a hat, right? It's a cap. And it's like $30. But I figured that at some point in time, we're going to start to travel again. And I'm going to start flying. So I need a hat. I figured that I would use this on the flights. So there it is. A little bit, nice contoured cap, right? Bumblebee Industries, BBI. Then on the side here, it says, making sound better, right? But as you can see, there's a snap. And the snaps are for this visor. Oh. There. So now there's I don't know if you can hear me, but now there's a face shield. And even though there's some creases here, you can actually take a heat gun or a hair dryer, and then it'll smoothen it out, just heat it up. But this is like a face shield, so I could sit in a plane and just wear this. No, I still have to probably still have to wear the mask, but not bad. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. So that's what I'm excited about this week. But if you're interested, he's got a video. I forgot the name of the video, but it's sound speeds on YouTube. The guy's name is Alan. If you scroll through his videos there's a place where he talks about the different hats that that they're using on set. And Di says you have to sign a document that says you'll wear a mask when you fly. That's fine. I don't mind any of that. Means I get to go somewhere. Oh, that's what I meant. Here's the receipt. So I mentioned earlier that the MSRP for the cigar is $14.29. So it actually costs $14.29. All right, good. Excellent. All right, so it's smoking well. We're getting down past towards the end of the second third, getting close to burning the band, and it's smooth. It's still maybe more light cedar rather than the light white pepper that we used to have, but it's smooth. It's enjoyable. Yeah, it's good. It's very good. So we also have another box to go into. This was the one that I've been waiting for. This is from my guy down in Falls Church, my cobbler guy. So let's see what he sent me. Let's see what he sent. You know, the crazy thing, this has been sitting here for weeks now. Probably well over a month, maybe almost 2 months, and I haven't opened it yet. I was going to make a video about it, but I figured, you know what, maybe I'll just do it like this on the live stream. So this whole journey started over a year ago. So it started in July of 2019. And I've had these shoes. So years ago, I at the cigar shop here in Baltimore, a place called Roller Road Tobacco Warehouse. That's long gone. We used to hang out there. We had a group of friends. And so this one guy was wearing these shoes, and they were essentially low-cut Timberland work shoes, right? That tan work shoe. But instead of boots, they were shoes. And I thought they were cool looking. So I said to him, hey, man, where'd you get those? And so you get them at Sears. They're like $20. And I was like, oh my God, $20. So I ran over to Sears, bought these shoes, and I've been using them since. And this is since 1995, 1996. And I've resold them like maybe 4 or 5 times, you know, with the local cobbler here. And so finally, it was at the point last year, it got to the point where they were just beat. Like the inner liner was like fraying. It was about to crack. It was getting cracked. It was about to break through the leather of the upper, you know, so it was really, really just beat down. And so I wanted to like, I mean, I love the shoes and I kept looking for new ones, but Sears is no longer in business and nobody makes this style of shoe anymore. So I was like, man, what am I going to do? And that's when I happened to stumble across this YouTube site called Beato's Leatherworks. And this guy does this, like, this cobbler does this crazy shoe repairs of like all these shoes. And it's amazing. And, you know, I was watching, I was like, oh my God, this is the guy that I need to go to. I wonder where he is. And it turns out he's in Falls Church, Virginia. And I was like, I'm going to take my shoes to this guy. Because, you know, as much as my local cobbler does a good job resoling shoes, like this requires like a whole nother level of approach, like of reconstruction, right? And I don't think my local cobbler does that kind of work. But this guy does. And like you see him do work on all kinds of like really nice quality shoes and everything. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. And so I did, and I went down there and I gave him the shoes because we were actually going on to we were on the way to Tobaccology down in Virginia to go to the Romacraft event. And so on the way there, I went to Falls Church and I gave him my shoes and I paid him the money to do it. And he's like, all right, it'll be ready in September. Well, September came. Nothing. October, November, December, January. Finally, February comes. I'm like, hey, man, it's been a while. What's going on? And then I'm working on them. All right. April comes. Oh, dude, what's going on here? So I think in April, I was kind of like, dude, what is the deal? Or maybe like it was May. I was like, dude, what is the deal? I'm getting kind of pissed off. And then, you know, he wrote back, and Steve, the guy's name is Steve, and he was like, you know, he's like, I'm really sorry, man. Like I totally haven't, you know, I said, you know, I don't mind waiting. Like I'm okay with waiting for quality. Like I'm not interested in rushing quality. I just would like to know how long I need to wait. Like if you're going to tell me it's going to take X amount of months, I'll wait. Like I was waiting the 2 months till September, which I would have preferred faster, but you know. And you know, to his credit, he came back and he was like, yeah, you know, I'm sorry, you're totally right. You know, and so finally in July, it took a year, I finally went back down there and it was ready. Oh, he actually sent it to me in June. So he sent me the shoes. Unfortunately, they were too tight because basically he had reconstructed the entire shoe, but without a last of my foot, there's no way to really make it correctly to the size. So it has to be kind of reformed, stretched. So I brought the shoes back down to him. We talked, and then he stretched and then went back again in like September. Still too tight. And so this is finally the next iteration. And I think this will be this is where we're going to start. This is where we're going to be. Right? Oh. So Inting says it's a solid burn. Yeah, it's looking really, really well, right? It's doing well. And George has moved into a Wiseman Maduro from the Mildias. Man, how are you doing out there, George? It's pretty cold, isn't it? I mean, you've been out there the entire time. And Ty says, needs plutonium for the DeLorean. Yes, yes. Or unless you have the Mr. Fusion, then you only need like, you know, whatever scraps. All right, first of all, I should tell you that these are not Carminas, they're not Alan Edmonds, they're not John Loves, they're nothing fancy. These are work shoes, like stuff to like wear during construction. Oh, right, there it is. Huh? What do you think? I mean, these, when I first got these back in June, I remember I pulled them out of the box. And the thing that struck me the most was the color of the leather. It had this pallid color, right? That made me think, wow, it kind of looks like dead flesh. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Leather is dead skin, right? But it had this, as you can see here, here's where one of the cracks were, right? So I was worried about this cracking all the way through. So what he did is he basically stripped the entire shoe and is that supposed to be there? Oh, there's something in here for that. I don't know if you could see that, but there's like some kind of shank. Is there no footbed? But he put some Vibram soles, right? All right, let's get this one open. George says, all good, but it's cold, but the relaxation of soda cigars will be, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, so let's see this other one. All right, there it is. The pear. Huh? Not bad. Not bad. Looks good now. I don't understand what's going on inside the shoe, though. There is this. And then this one has a footbed. But this one doesn't. Or what is this? Oh, maybe it's to hold the shape. Oh, there we go. There's the footbed here. I guess that's to hold the shape in shipping. Interesting. All right, there we go. That's good. That's much better. That's more happy now, right? That's more happy. So finally, I can get back to working with shoes. So we'll give those a try this coming week and figure out how it goes. All right, so back to the cigar. Let's continue. Yeah, so that guy Steve can do all kinds of great work. Like he rebuilds all kinds of shoes, leather bags, any kind of leather work. Like I had a pair of my dress shoes that I wanted to have toe taps put on. So he did those to me. I'm actually going to plan to make a video about it for the channel that will show how he makes it. He's really quite a master at this kind of stuff. And so really excited to try these shoes on finally and have them back. And yeah, so now it's getting a little bit more One of the reviewers described it as getting aggressive towards the end, and I definitely am sensing that it's getting a little bit more of an edge, a little more bitey, not like a peppery bitey, just a little bit more. Maybe even just the best term would be rough, a little bit rougher. Oh, also this time of year, there's I don't know if you guys, people are, a lot of gifts going. Oh, speaking of which, have you guys been getting your packages? Like, evidently, I hear that UPS or US, the United States Postal Service, is way backlog. People are like, it's taking a lot longer for most people to get their stuff, and because everyone's home for the pandemic and ordering stuff online, like everybody is just swamped with packages. So I came back to the house today to find a package from I don't know who it was, maybe FedEx or whoever, UPS, and it was on the front lawn, on top of the snow by the street. Guy didn't even bother to bring it to the door. He just dropped it on the front lawn and took off. What's going on here with that? Yeah, delay, definitely a lot of delays. It's interesting. Like, I see at the shop, I see our drivers, both UPS, FedEx, and Postal Service guys, and the Amazon guys. I see them pretty much daily, and man, they're just like swamped. Like, the UPS guy, he's like, he's like, I got to work, my truck was overloaded, we had to leave a bunch of packages behind. I was like, holy crap, man. Yeah, there's definitely more of it's getting more punchy, a little rougher, a little bit more tingly on the tongue. And Guy says he's waiting for package mail November 30th. Yeah, I've been hearing that everything from December 1st, if right around there, everything is just banged. They're all banged. Like, I've been shipping out coffee this past couple weeks, and I don't know if they're going to get them. I don't think they'll get them in time for Christmas. And even my niece's gift that I ordered from Amazon, I don't know if I'll get that before Christmas. It says it could be here between the 21st and 24th, but who knows? So this is the MQBA MQBA. I guess they're trying to make a play on the MQBA Toro. Nice. Now it's starting to get bitter. Yeah. It's turning bitter on the tongue. And actually, a couple of the reviewers noted that. Let's see who's it that noted that. Yeah, Half Wheels. Patrick LeGrade was like, on the last third, mostly pepper forward, mix of white and black pepper, little charred wood, turned sharp, sour, chalky, metallic, with increased aggressiveness. Yeah, I'm starting to see that more bitterness, definitely that aggressiveness. The other guys, Stogie Press and Blind Man's Puff, didn't really mention anything of turning poorly at the end. And guys asking, order rebuild kit for my lump of Oni. Interest rebuilding? Yeah, of course. Let's do it. Yeah, it's definitely getting a bitter, harsh, unpleasant. on the tongue. Like that's not nice now. Like it's made a definite like hard left. Yeah, where it was pleasant, now it's like, ooh. Like you kind of want to stop. And for what, $14? That's something. Have you guys seen the AirPods Max? Those like headphones? Evidently, there's like 12 microphones built into it to do something. One of my friends was telling me that it's supposed to, like, we were talking about speakers, right? Bookshelf speakers and like speakers for your home. And my friend was telling me that these new AirPod Maxes are supposed to simulate the experience of being of open ear listening to speakers. Like as you turn the, like when you're listening to speakers, like it's coming at you, right? And as you turn, the phasing from each speaker changes, right? So he was telling me that these new AirPod Maxes are supposed to simulate that, so that instead of hearing the perfect balance that you would hear in like headphones, that as you turned off axis, it would change. That seems kind of interesting, but not for $500. But if any of you guys are going to get one, I'd love to know what you think. We're also getting a little bit of a crack. Look at that. A little bit of a cracking here on the wrapper. Yeah, and think $550 for a headphone. That sounds like craziness. Especially for one. Okay, so here's the crazy thing. So like it's bad enough that you're going to spend $60, $200 on the ear pods, right? That at some point in time, the batteries that are inside those pod headphones are going to die, and they'll no longer hold charge. And basically, the way they're designed is that they can't be replaced, and you just have to trash them. So your $200 or $150 is done. I am presuming that Apple's doing the same thing for these $500 headphones. So when those batteries are done, you're pretty much going to have to toss them. I think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like ridiculous. Especially in a time when we talk so much about conservation and, the environment. And a company like Apple has billions of dollars overseas. It's not like, I guess they have $1 billion overseas because, they do things like that and we pay for them. And then another thing that I thought was interesting this is a little bit different, but while we talk about like Apple having all this money offshore, right? Billions of dollars offshore, that they won't repatriate because they have to pay 35% on it. Which if you have $3 billion and you have to pay 35%, yeah, I guess if you lose $1 billion, you're upset, but you still got $2 billion. That's still a lot of money. Anyway, someone was pointing out to me that, Bill Gates, whatever you think of Bill Gates, but here's Bill Gates. He puts all this money towards, philanthropy and like research and all that. And we hate him for it. Apple does none of that. They just hoard their own money, but we love them. I thought that was an interesting perspective. Inting says he'll stick with his unbranded $50 earphones. Yes, absolutely. And George loves his $40 knockoff AirPods. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, $40. That's a reasonable amount. That's a reasonable amount of money to spend for earpods that eventually you're going to throw away. I admit I got suckered Several years ago, I was out in California, went down to Santa Clarita, and I was always an Apple fan, so I went to the Apple headquarters, and I was at their the headquarters has a Apple store, right? So I'm at the Apple store there, and I'm like, what can I get here that I can't get anywhere else? And they had some shirts that was kind of cool, but I'm not gonna wear a shirt. And the girl was like, hey, we've got the iPod, we've got the AirPods, what are they called? And at the time they were brand new and they were $160, and she's like, well, they're not available anywhere at the moment, except here. And I looked it up online. Like, nobody had them. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I should buy them. So I bought them. $160. I got suckered into it. Crazy things. Just like this box of shoes I've sitting here for like 2 months. I didn't open the package for like 10 months. They sat on my desk for 10 months in the box. And finally I started using them. And here's the problem with them, right? Like, for my ears, like, if I put them with the stems down, like, they fall out. They're not really secured. If I put them up, right, so they're sticking up, then they stay secure. Then I can wear them. The problem is there's something about when you wear them upside down, you don't get 100% functionality out of them. Not that you can't hear them, but there's just, I forgot what it was because I haven't worn them. God, I haven't worn them in a year. They're just sitting on my desk again. I started bringing them with me on my trips, and I would use them while I'm traveling at various places on the subway or something like that. But like, I've actually been home now for a year. Like, I came home this week a year ago, and I was already planning when I arrived back in December this week last year. I was already planning to be home for a couple months before we started traveling again. And then, actually, my first trip was supposed to be right when the pandemic hit and we shut everything down. So I haven't been anywhere in a year. I've been here, in this room, smoking cigars. But like I said, the Expanse has started. I don't know if you watched that, but the Expanse is pretty good. That's back. I don't know what channel that's on, but they dropped the first 3 episodes for this new season. Looks kind of interesting. I know we touched upon this maybe a month or so ago, but I'm interested to see that. And then, of course, Star Trek Discovery's been rolling, so I've been watching that. The Mandalorian. I don't know if you guys watched that, but Boba Fett has returned. Somehow, he survived the Sarlacc pit. Instead of being digested for 1,000 years, he's been regurgitated and now is alive without his armor. So he had to get his armor back. He got his armor back, and now it's all perfectly clean. Like, it looks brand new. Like, he must have did a new paint job on it. And then what else have I been watching? I've been watching that SWAT. SWAT's been pretty interesting. It's all right. And SEAL Team. The leader of SEAL Team is like pulled back. That's kind of an interesting twist. When I was watching that series called Away on Netflix, the Hilary Swank goes to Mars. So I just finished the 10 episodes yesterday, right? So I'm watching it. They finally make it to Mars, right? I'm like, oh, okay, they're on Mars. Exciting. They've been trying to get there the whole series. For 10 hours, they've been trying to get there. And I was like, okay, I wonder when they're going to release season number 2. And I look it up. And Netflix has canceled it. No season 2. Evidently, it cost too much money. I think it cost them like $6 million per episode to make because of all the special effects and everything and all the set. And they're just not going to renew it. So we're never going to know what happened. They got to Mars, and I guess they're going to die on Mars. So just like the real Mars mission was supposed to happen someday, it was a one-way trip for Hilary Swank. Man, Mars is just not a good place for people. Like, now Hilary Swank is stranded there. Matt Damon got stranded there. God, it's terrible. Yeah. Still bitter. Definitely not enjoyable this last third. Guy says Giri Haji didn't get renewed. Oh, I haven't seen that. I'm not familiar with that one. Haji, is that like a Arab series? There was this one Israeli series that I was watching earlier this fall about an Israeli girl who's an undercover agent who is stuck in Iran. That was pretty good. I hope that comes back. And George says, can we send some politicians to Mars? I would like that. I would like that very much. Definitely on the one-way ship. Maybe just put them in the SN8. You know, that starship? The one that crash landed? Which was pretty... I don't know if you guys watched that, but that SN8 is that starship from SpaceX. And I think they're going to... It's supposed to be a multi-purpose vehicle that they can do both, I guess, ISS runs and eventually take it to the moon and then to Mars. And I think it's supposed to be able to land and then take off again. Like they were doing this 12-kilometer hop. So this thing takes off. Did we talk about this last week? I don't know. But this thing takes off. Right? And then it basically kind of flies and then verts and then lands. And evidently it landed too hard because it exploded. Oh, I think we did talk about this last week. Yes. So the Girl Haji is on Netflix BBC. Oh, I'll have to look up. Yeah, evidently from what I was reading from the Away thing was that Netflix has not renewed a lot of their shows. And the thing about the surprising thing with the Away was that it was really popular. Like it was, the ratings on it were really high for Netflix. So there's also supposed to be another Battlestar Galactica. Like they're going to reboot it and make another version. When Dai says the Santas behind me remind me of the Asteroid retro game. Ah, yes, yes. Oh, gotta open that up so that the Santas are there. It does look like that. We should get one of those and like project that on the asteroids. Yeah, I've been seeing these retro gaming things like, oh, that's what my nephew was saying that he wanted me to get. Was Galaga. There's a Galaga game that I'll have to look that up. But it's like a Galaga game thing that I believe you can plug it into, it's got an HDMI out, so you can plug it into your monitor so you can see it on the big screen. But you still have to play with the little key, the little like controls on the unit. Oh, yeah, that's what he said he wanted. I better look that up. That was actually kind of cool. Even I thought that was kind of cool. I did find another game like at the Micro Center that was like a real tiny one, like really, really tiny, like this, with a little tiny screen and little controls of Dragon's Lair. No. That was something else. There was another game, but it was super small and didn't have an HDMI out, so you really had to play it. Now, I tried playing it in the Micro Center. And that's an exercise in frustration. So, Dai, are you doing a lot of those retro games? For a while, our buddy let me use his Star Wars wireframe video game upright at my house. Had that for like a couple of years. That was pretty awesome. Retro Pi. Retro gaming on the Raspberry Pi. Oh, that's interesting. You know, I see those Raspberries and stuff like that, Arduinos, and you can do all these things with it. And I think, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Then I look a little more into it, and it's like it's just beyond my capacity. Like I have no real knowledge of programming and computer science. So I'm like, oh, it's like way over here. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Retro Pie. Ooh, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. So my two favorite games was Donkey Kong and Galaga. Those were my two. I also like Defender 2084, and of course Pac-Man was good. But the ones I really liked was Galaga and Defender was cool, but Defender was tough. Oh, Joust. Oh, nice. That's tough. Oh, that's what it was. I saw this guy online on YouTube, and evidently there's a company that makes this little tiny upright. Looks like the big box shrunk down to tabletop size, which looks like this, of Dragon's Lair. It even comes with a little laser disc player, non-working, of course. But I thought that was really that was cool. And that one you could plug into an HDMI port, so you can plug into your monitor. So the cigar's going along, still bitter, sharp, sour. Not a happy third. Micro Center sells a kit Retrocade. Is that the big unit that they have at Micro Center, or is that something else? I mean, I know at Micro Center they have that big like upright machine that I think does multiple games. They have it turned off, so I don't know, but it's got the big buttons, the ones that you can like really hit a lot, like when you're. I think that's cool. Look it up on Amazon. Let's see here. Amazon, I can look at what I've looked at. Browsing history. There we are. Oh, there it is. My nephew wanted something called the My Arcade Data East Classics Mini Arcade. 35 retro games included, Heavy Barrel, Caveman Ninja, and more. It's a 10-inch game. Well, that does look cool. Oh, I'll have to get that for it. It's like $87. Ooh, that's a lot of money. Ooh, there's one called the official Pac-Man 40th Anniversary quarter size for $130. Oh, here it is. So in this one that my nephew wants, here's all the included games. Bad Dudes, Caveman Ninja, Burger Time, B-Wings, Karate Champ, Side Pocket, Street Hoop, Heavy Barrel, Breakthrough, Super Real Darwin, Joe and Mac Returns, Desert Assault, Wizard Fire, Western Express, Tumble Pop, Super Doubles Tennis, Rootin' Tootin', Midnight Resistance, Super Burger Time, Shootout, Bloody Wolf, Scrum, Try, Two Crude Dudes, Nitro Ball, Dark Seal, Treasure Island, Darwin's 4878, Saviga, Ice Cream Factory, Pro Bowling, Pro Tennis, Tomahawk 777, Pro Soccer, Lock and Chase, and none of these that I like. Ah, forget it. Oh. Yeah, there we are, still rolling. The MBombay MQBA Toro. Yeah, this last third has just been disappointing. Like Blind Man's Puff was saying that he tasted vanilla, molasses, cloves, white frosting. I got none of that. Yeah, even like now, the aftertaste is not. It's kind of got that ashy. Inting says maybe he was having a donut with a cigar. Probably. That would be this last third. A donut would be very helpful. So, have you guys smoked any great cigars this past week? I didn't smoke so much since the last show. I kept thinking about it. Like I was thinking Monday, maybe I should do it, but never did. Usually I'll smoke like on a Saturday or Friday. And we use that time to catch up on the shows. Usually Friday nights I'll be sitting here watching Discovery and Mandalorian. But I also have to keep up with the YouTube channel, right? To keep with this channel to keep more videos coming. So every week I gotta do new videos. And George says, white frosting, yeah, never had that. Yeah, I haven't had that either. White frosting. These guys, they come up with some really interesting stuff. Yeah, this is just not pleasant. Not pleasant. So what are you guys planning this weekend? Anything interesting? Anything interesting for Christmas? Going to go anywhere? Stay at home? Our governor doesn't want us to go anywhere. He wants us to stay home. I don't have anywhere to go, so I will be home. Yeah, so I guess we come to the question of like that we always think about, would I buy another one of these? I would have to say no. After this last third, no, definitely not. $14 and a third of the cigar is just unpleasant. That's too much to risk. I think in the half wheel that mentioned the sourness, out of that he smoked four cigars, and I think out of that those four, three of them had this result. Is that right? Let's have a look. I think it was. I don't see the notes, but yeah, that's kind of disappointing. I remember the first release that he did when MBombay first started. They did an event with Mel and George Reitman came out to the Tobacco Leaf, maybe 5 years ago or so, and I thought that original release was really good from MBombay. But as with anything, MBombay tends to be on this pricier level, 13 and up. So that always kind of tempers my buying of them. But I do like the idea of this single origin type of cigar where the tobaccos come from one farm. And I think Pete does that for the Veritas series, which I found his 2008 to be really, really good. The 2013 to be quite good. I think that's got better flavor, more consistent flavor throughout. Like, I don't remember that turning at the very end. Like, this is turning at the end. Some of the other reviewers were saying that, Ecuador's not perhaps not the country that's ready for this yet. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if they have this result in a lot of them, but. And then here's the next burning question. Are we broadcasting on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know yet. I'm open to it. Like, I'm probably not doing too much on Christmas Eve, so maybe. I don't have anything scheduled I don't have any cigars scheduled for those weeks, but I was thinking today that maybe next week for Christmas we'll drink some of this. This is the Affentons, the Delay Affentons rum. And this is a rum that I'm very at the very bottom. You can see it at the very bottom of, right? And basically, I think this is a great rum. Like, it's a little bit sweet, but really nice. Like, look at this thing. I've actually had this bottle for about 2 years, and it's been at this level for probably the last 6 months. And I haven't drank any of it because I realized that the next drink is going to probably be the last one from this bottle, and I can't get this here. So what this is, I might have mentioned this before, there's a guy named Sully DeLay. And Sully owns a place called DeLay Cigaren in Saarbrücken, Germany. And he's the guy in Europe that has the Roma Craft Wanderlust. And so when I've been traveling to Africa and to Europe, well, you know, I'm traveling, I usually stop in Frankfurt at some point. And so usually I'll work a few days into Frankfurt, my stop in Frankfurt, and I'll drive over to Saarbrücken. It's about a 3-hour drive. And the first year that I went there, it's 2018, I bought this because I was like, I'm just interested in rums, as you know. And so this was great. This has been fantastic. The problem is that it's in Germany, and I don't think he can ship this to America. Like, I don't think you can ship cigars, but I don't think you can ship liquor. So I have to wait till my next trip to Germany to get another bottle. But this is quite excellent. So we're coming down to the very end. Like, I get it. Like this torpedo that Patrick Legrade reviewed for Half Wheel that he gave the 82 on. I mean, this last third has been such a downturn. Like, it just took such a hard left and nosedived that, man, I can see that you'd give it a low score. Like, I wonder, like the other ones that got high scores, the 90 and the 97, they were the Nika, the Lonsdale. I can only imagine they performed differently because of the ratio of tobaccos, but maybe these 52 ring gauges are just whatever about it. Maybe this turns down. And George says, 2 years you have real discipline. I don't know if it's discipline, it's just that I'm afraid to drink it all. Only because I can't go to the store and buy another one. Like, these other ones, like let's say there's this Diplomatico, right? This Diplomatico or this old line. This one, I can just go buy another one. That's not a big deal. But this one, you can't. So it's like, oh. And Rusty says, OG cigars for next week. Backwoods and Black and Miles. Huh? I'm waiting. So I'm a member of the Tatuai S&S Club, the Saints and Sinners. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's this private club that Pete Johnson started, maybe 10 years ago. I joined in 2013, so I've been a member. So every year, as a member of this club, you get a box of cigars and a kit. Usually includes a shirt, sometimes a hat, and then a bunch of accessories. My intention was that I thought that usually they come out in October, but there've been some delays or whatever. I haven't really paid attention. I was kind of wondering the other day. I was like, a couple weeks ago, I was like, I wonder what happened to my kit. And I was reading one of the threads on Facebook about it, and they were like, oh, it hasn't come out yet. I was like, okay, good. I don't have to worry. I was hoping I was going to be at the post office today when I went to pick up this other box, and unfortunately, it's not there. And so I was intending to show that maybe next week if it comes in, then I will have that for the next one. All right, we're going to put this down. And Di's asking, no, can special order the wine source? Unfortunately not. This one is a private label. I presume that Sully has, and I didn't really ask him about this, but I presume that he had this made, or he probably bought a barrel or two and had them bottle it up. It's a Jamaican rum. Jamaican rum, I'm Valnes Fas Gerät. And you can see that. Pull back a little bit. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. And then there's even smaller lettering that says, I can't read that anymore. There was a time when I could read that small fine print, but now that's no longer. But this is just lovely. Ooh. Aromas of vanilla and caramel. Okay, next week we'll do that. All right, next week. Yeah, we'll probably do Christmas Eve. And the coffee, the naughty coffee. Don't forget, if you want some, go to the website, sprocoffee.com. They're $15 for each one. Or together, $25 deal. Actually, it's been selling pretty well this season. Like, we've sold quite a bit, and I was actually kind of surprised. And this cup, like I said earlier, this is the Figo Oslo cup from Norway, and designed by a buddy of mine, Tim Wendelbo. And it's supposed to enhance the drinking experience. Now, one of the things that I found is, like, I personally think that the rim is too thick. Like, if you look at these Riedel glasses, like this is a Riedel glass for liquor, a snifter, and it's really thin. And even this water glass from Riedel, really thin, right? And even the china that we use at the Cafe du Spro, all is really thin as well. And I think when you have a thin rim, the way that it delivers the liquid onto your palate is much more enjoyable than like I think if this was half the size, if this rim was half the size that it is, I think it'd be really, really great. That's good coffee. There we go. All right, so I guess that's it since the cigar's done. Right, cigar's done. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time. Again, it's been another 2 hours of us talking coffee and cigars and whatever else in between. So Christmas Eve, yeah, let's do Christmas Eve. We'll do Christmas Eve, 8 o'clock again. And New Year's, not sure yet, but definitely for Christmas Eve, we'll probably do that. All right, so that's good for the moment. I hope it's been a good one for you guys. I hope you're enjoying your cigars and your coffees, and we'll see you next time around, a week from now. Have a great one.